Welcome to the church family that is lifting lives through living love, inspiring hope, filling with faith, and transforming our world. These recorded messages are made available so that you might have additional opportunities to stay connected with us and that you might learn and grow in your faith. God bless you as you hear the word today. And now, the message.
So down in my basement, there are a few bins full of toys that look like this. These are Thomas the Tank Engine train tracks. And there was a season of my life when I could name every character up on that screen. I knew which one was Thomas and which one was Percy and which one was James and which one was Henry. I can't do it now. I probably already misnamed a few of them. But anyways, there was a time that I could totally do that. And my son and I would spend hours playing with all of these train tracks. I mean, I loved to kind of build these elaborate sets that would go over chairs and furniture, and then we'd leave them up for weeks, so my son would take the little toy trains and he would reenact whole episodes of Thomas the Tank Engine, and he'd add in his own imagination. But you know what? These train tracks have been in our basement for years now. We don't still play with them because it was just a phase. And then that phase, the Thomas the Tank Engine phase, was followed up with other phases. The next phase was Legos. There was a time where we could build Legos forever. We had Legos everywhere. And after Legos came Star Wars. I mean, anything he gets Star Wars, he just was just absorbing it all. And then after Star Wars came Minecraft and video games. And when I say these are just phases, I mean like we went whole hog as a family into these phases, like room decor, birthday parties, Christmas gifts, I mean, everything. But then it was funny because 6 months or a year later, the phase would shift and all the stuff would go in bins and go down into our basement. It's just a phase. I could do this on the girls' side of it as well. And for my girl, it was a very long phase, but the one I remember most is the American Girl doll stage. There was a long period of time when anything American Girl doll was beloved. There was no higher pinnacle of joy than to go to Chicago and the American Girl store that was in Chicago and have the doll's hair done and like go through all the salon treatments for a doll. And you know where all that furniture is now and the dolls and the clothes and all that? It's in a closet now. And the only time it comes out is when Margaret's babysitting some other little girl, because that's the phase she's in right now. It's just a phase. We say that phrase all the time. A lot of times not just about kids' toys, but really about their behavior. I mean, especially if that behavior is challenging in some way. We try to give a word of encouragement to someone and say, it's okay, it's just a phase. That phase when you can't sleep through the night without your child coming and waking you up or hopping in bed with you because they've had nightmares. It's just a phase. Or that phase where there's tantrums. I mean, uncontrollable tantrums that you don't even know what, it's like a minefield and you never know what you're gonna say or what you're gonna do that's gonna create this, transform your child. But it's just a phase. Or maybe as kids get older, that phase, that time when suddenly they're embarrassed by you. And they don't laugh at your jokes. Instead, they roll their eyes and pretend they don't know you. Just a phase. Or maybe that time when they're rebelling and pushing against you and breaking the rules because they need to figure out their own identity and they're wearing clothes that you never would have, where do they even get these clothes? I don't buy them. It's just a phase. We say that phrase over and over again as a way of acknowledging that phases only last for so long in life. The way we want to define a phase this morning is this way. A phase is can we go to the next slide, please? A phase is a time frame in a kid's life when you can leverage distinctive opportunities to influence their future. It's a time period. There's a beginning and an end, and each phase has its own opportunities, but if you leverage them, if you lean into that phase, you have an opportunity to impact the future. You have an opportunity to reflect God's love to them. And some phases are fun and joyful. Some phases are hard. Some require a lot of patience and discipline, a lot of work. But in every single phase, the ones you enjoy and the ones you're just gritting and bearing through, we have the opportunity to impact a child's future. The author of Ecclesiastes was a great observer of life. And he doesn't use the word phases, but he uses the word seasons. You're no doubt familiar with this passage. He writes and he says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to tear down, a time to build, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance." It goes on like that for another 5 or 6 verses. But his point is, in all of our lives, there are different seasons, there are different phases, and each phase gives us the opportunity to do something that will impact our future and someone else's future as well. I like the way the Message puts it. It says there's an opportune time to do things, a right time for everything on the earth. So this morning, what we're going to do is going to look a little bit different. Instead of a long message by me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite forward our children's director and our youth director, Tracy, Vermillion, Ashlea, Barnett, and they're going to kind of walk us through the different ages and stages that kids move through from birth all the way to college and beyond. Because each phase gives us an opportunity for how we respond as parents, as grandparents, as educators, as a church. How do we reflect God's love in each and every stage? Because remember, it's just a stage, so don't miss it.
I'd like to welcome my first friend up this morning. Her name is Caroline Schertzer. Caroline, can you join me? Good morning. How are you?
Good.
How old are you?
4.
Are you in preschool? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Tell me, Caroline, what do you like to do for fun at home?
Swim and ride my bike.
So you like to swim and ride your bike? That sounds like a lot of fun. And how about church? What do you like about coming to church?
Playing on the playground and sing songs.
playing on the playground and singing songs. We do a lot of that, don't we? It's a fun playground, isn't it? Yeah, and all those VBS songs? Uh-huh. Thank you so much for coming up and sharing. Everyone, can we give a round of applause for Caroline? Thanks. So Caroline is in preschool. And what we know about preschoolers is that world is expanding and it's full of new discovery. And preschoolers are still not in control of themselves, are they? They're not in control of their bodies, they're not in control of their emotions. Preschoolers have some big feelings, right? And so they like to control the world around them too, just a little bit. So they want to know that they're safe. Am I safe? They want to know that they're cared for. Are you familiar to me? Can I trust you? Am I loved even when I mess up? Because preschoolers, it can get messy. So here's what we want preschoolers to learn: that they belong to their family, that they belong to their schools, to their communities, and to their churches, and that they belong to God. And because of the belonging that the preschoolers have, they know they're safe. They know that people care about them. They know that they're loved. And so one of the big milestones as a church is we do baptism, which encompasses all of that. But as a church and a community, as schools, how can we help this age know that they belong? Well, we embrace them. And I don't just mean hugs. I mean, you guys see me coming down the hall. What are you going to get? A hug. But I don't just mean that. And I don't just mean the times when you're in the nursery and you're rocking that baby or you're holding your child as they're going to sleep. It's more than that. Embracing needs to happen when kids aren't sleepy, when it's chaotic and it's loud and it's messy. When they have a dirty diaper, or when they have that meltdown moment in Target. You've been there. I've been there. And sometimes parents, you might need to be embraced as well. Because when we embrace kids at this age, we reflect God, a God who is bigger than anything these kids will ever face, because it's just a phase. So the next person I'd like to call forward is Gabby O'Donnell. Gabby, are you in here? I know I saw you. Come on up, sweetheart. First of all, I need a hug. I'm embracing. Okay, so Gabby, how old are you?
8.
And what grade are you in?
3rd.
3rd grade. How'd that happen? How much fun do you like having? What do you like to do when you're not at school?
I like to play with my friends, usually out back in the summertime, and sometimes when this little woods kind of close to my house, well, actually really close to my house, isn't overgrown. We usually play in there.
Okay, that sounds like a lot of fun. Who wants to go, right? Yeah, we got people raising their hands. Gabby, that is awesome. I love that that's what you like to do. And what do you like about coming to church?
I like that at Sunday school we can still learn about God, but we can also have a lot of fun.
Yeah, because learning about God is fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Gabby, thank you for sharing with us this morning. Can you guys give Gabby a round of applause? Thank you, Gabby. Okay, so here's what we know about elementary students. Their world is rapidly expanding, especially during those kindergarten and 1st grade years, because what they have known is that small part of their family. And they get to be shared with just their family, right? But then they walk into the classroom and they have 18 to 20 other students with them. And so they start learning about competing, right? I need the attention. Look at me, right? And so what we want kindergartners and kids to know in the elementary kids' age is that even though you're starting that comparison game, right? And even though that you're wondering if you got what it takes, that we're here for you. Because elementary students discover Their core of knowledge is constantly growing, isn't it? They've got math, they've got science, they've got reading, and they've got God's story that they're learning as well. And we also want them to discover their own gifts and their own abilities. So one of the milestones that we have here is that we like to give them a Bible when they enter 3rd grade, the age that Gabby is, so they can learn how God's story goes with their story, and then they can discover that God is someone they can talk to and have a relationship with. Now, that's a lot of discovery going on, isn't it, in elementary school? So how do we facilitate that or navigate that as adults? Well, we need to engage kids where they are, don't we? When you engage kid at the stage, you take an active interest in their life. And that means you're probably going to have to do things like play with American Girls or know what a Mer unicorn is, right? Or you have to do Minecraft or Lego or Star Wars, whatever it is that they're in. That point is when you engage at that level with that kid, no matter what you're engaging in, you reflect a God that engages in their life in order to have a relationship with them. So parents, you have the most influence on your child. And a parent is every person who is housing, nurturing, raising a kid or teenager regardless. That includes every grandparent, aunt, uncle, single parent, guardian, adoptive parent, foster parent, married parent, remarried parent, and a parent of kids with special needs. Please know that you are all doing a fantastic job. Holly Crenshaw said, and I like this, remember, you were God's choice to parent your child, and you are enough. But just so you know, we're here to walk alongside you. Whatever your phase your child is in, we are here. Your church is here, your schools are here, your community is here. Later, you're going to hear from Ashlea, but before that, I want to thank the teachers, the staffs, and administrators of our schools. You may not know this, but by engaging in each child, you are reflecting God. By providing a space where a child can learn their own story and learn to tell their own story, God. And to the community, thank you. Thank you for supporting our schools and all of our churches so children will know that they have a relationship with our Lord and Savior. And on your way out today, we just have a few things for you. We have this book, don't miss it. Parent every week like it counts. Parents, take it, a copy is yours. There's plenty out there. For everybody, we've got gummy bears. Some of you already have them. And when you eat these gummy bears, so if you pull out a red gummy bear, what is your favorite book and why? Or maybe you'll pull out a green one that says, tell me something about yesterday. Or purple, what do we really do well as a family? So enjoy the gummy bears. And then teachers, this is just a small thank you, just to remind you that we know what you do every day for our kids. And so if you can take this, it says lead, embrace, engage, affirm, mobilize, because teachers, you make it personal. Everything's just a phase. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ashlea Barnett. I'm the new youth pastor here at Zionsville. And it's taking me a while, but I'm getting to know everyone. But I want to introduce you to a couple people that I have met. First, I'm going to call up Margaret Williamson. Where are you? Okay. Margaret, what grade are you in?
I'm in 8th grade.
So what do you like to do for fun?
A lot of theater stuff. I'm hardcore into that. And my friend and I are starting a business for jewelry. So that's taking up a lot of my time too.
Wow, that's awesome. So how do you feel about church?
I really like it. I love hanging out at youth on Sunday nights, and I also love to do service activities then too.
All right. Let's give Margaret a big hand. You can go. Middle school, I'm sure we all remember our days of junior high, right? It's a time of transition, and it's a hard time. Right? Everything changes. Social networks, friends, the bodies, emotions, how we feel about home, how we feel about themselves, right? So during our elementary years, our minds are sponges. They're soaking up everything that's coming our way. But when you hit middle school, we actually go through a pruning process, right? And so what happens is we're starting to get rid of the stuff that we don't access very often. And what we're trying to do is to put in the things in our minds that really matter. And so a key question that kids are asking during the middle school years is, who am I? Who do I like? Who likes me? So the question for a church is, what do we hope for middle schoolers? Well, that in this process of defining themselves, they'll come to own their faith, which is just one more way we ask them to step into their identity. In order to know who they are and to own what they believe, they have to question. See, it's not just enough for them to accept what their parents have said or an authority figure has told them. They have to question, and they have to put it into practice in their daily lives. And this testing and this questioning, it's challenging for parents, it's challenging for teachers, and all the other adults in their lives. But the testing is good. Testing is good because with it comes confirmation and a faith and a confidence that can be carried forward into high school. And so that's the milestone we celebrate at this stage, confirmation. A moment when children affirm the faith and the vows that were once made on their behalf. And so the word affirm is important. Yes, that's what we want kids to do with their faith. And it's exactly what we need to be doing with them. We need to be affirming them no matter what they think of themselves, no matter how they may act or feel on any given day. Middle school's messy. There are going to be days where boundaries get pushed and mistakes are going to get made. There are going to be days where the kids don't like themselves and they can't see their potential and they can't see their value. But we keep affirming them. And we keep affirming them to reflect the love of a Jesus who saw potential in even the most messy and broken people. So finally, let me call Taylor Brown up here. Taylor, what grade are you in?
I'm in 11th grade.
What do you like to do for fun?
I like to hang out with my friends, and I like to run, so I do cross country and track.
So how do you feel about church?
I really like church because of the community we have here, and I like coming to youth group on Sunday nights to get to know people and to grow in faith together, and church helps me to stay grounded, and I like to gain perspective through faith. So.
Thank you. Let's give Taylor a hand. High school. High school covers 4 years, and during that time, there's this huge range of development. You start with freshmen who are trying to figure out their place. And then you move to sophomores and juniors who've already figured out their place, and they want more than anything for the adults in their lives to trust them to handle their responsibilities in their business, right? And then we move to seniors, and yet again, they're starting to question what is their place again. They don't quite know where they're going or what they're supposed to do with their lives, right? And so over these 4 years periods, kids are learning a lot. They're learning to drive. A lot of them get their first job. They're learning to manage money for the first time. They go on their first real dates. They face an incredible amount of temptation. And yet somehow in the midst of all of that, we ask them to make choices about college and a career and a future. And so they're asking, can I make a difference in the world? So the challenge we lay before high schoolers is to live out their faith. See, we want to help them continue to cultivate their relationship with God, but we want them to move from a private faith, one that's just between them and Jesus, to a public faith that is between them and Jesus and the world around them. We want them to understand that they can make a difference in the lives of others, and that their faith connects to every aspect of their lives. And all of this culminates into graduation, where we send kids out to find their own path, but yet we're still affirming that they have a place, a safe place back home. So what is our job as a church? It is to mobilize teens. So let me explain what I mean by mobilize. It's our job to make space for them. It's our job to invite them in to serve alongside of us, to lead right beside of us. See, kids at this age will not feel significant unless they have something significant to do. They're less interested in programs and far more interested in relationships. So one of our goals is to put mentors and adults in their lives by every means possible, to have consistent leaders who will be there as they figure out their paths in the world. Middle school, high school, teenagers, I love them. It's a hard time, it's a difficult time, it's a crazy time, and it's an exciting time, not only for them, but for the parents and teachers and every other adult in their lives. It's a phase, and we don't want to miss it.
He didn't have to wake up. He'd been up all night, lying there in bed listening to his newborn baby cry. He makes a pot of coffee, he splashes water on his face. His wife gives him a kiss and says it's gonna be okay. It won't be like this for long. One day we'll look back and laugh at the week we brought her home. This phase is gonna fly by, so baby just hold on. It won't be like this for long. 4 years later, about 4:30, she's crawling in their bed. When he drops her off at preschool, she's clinging to his leg. The teacher peels her off of him. He says, what can I do? She says, now don't you worry, this only lasts a week or two. This won't be like this for long. And one day soon you'll drop her off. She won't even know you're gone. This phase is gonna fly by if you can just hold on. It won't be like this for long. Someday soon she'll be a teenager, and at times he'll think she hates him. He'll walk her down the aisle and raise her veil. But right now she's up and crying the truth that he don't mind. As he kisses her goodnight, she says her prayer. He lays down there beside her till her eyes are finally closed. Just watching her, it breaks his heart, 'cause he already knows it won't be like this for long. One day soon that little girl's gonna be all grow up and gone. His face is gonna fly by, so he's trying to hold on. 'Cause it won't be like this for long. It won't be like this for long.
So I just want you to see this one more time. Kids all along their journey are asking, am I safe? Do I have what it takes? Who am I? Can I make a difference? And our job as a church is to embrace kids who are asking, am I safe, so that they can know there's a place to belong. And we celebrate this milestone with baptism as a symbol of belonging to the family of God. And we engage kids who are asking, do I have what it takes, so they could discover that God made them special and God gave them gifts. And this milestone that we celebrate here is third grade Bible, so that kids can discover God's story. And when kids are asking, who am I, we affirm who they are so that they can own their faith and kind of make it personal. And when kids are asking, can I make a difference, we find ways to mobilize them so they can live out their faith. And we celebrate that ultimately with graduation when they go out to the world to live out their faith. That's the framework. And I said our theme this morning and this month is it's personal. So let me just share 2 ways I think you can personalize this. I think the first thing I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself, what phase are you in? Not literally what age are you in, but what phase are you personally in? What questions are you asking? What needs do you have? You might be wondering, am I safe? There might be some insecurity taking place at work or elsewhere in your home. And I hope if you're feeling insecure in any way, you can know this church is a place you can belong. Or you might be wondering, do I have what it takes? Something's happened to shake your confidence. And so I hope that you can discover the gifts that God has for you. You may be feeling like something happened. I'm not sure who I am anymore. I knew who I used to be, but not who I'm going to be. Well, I can affirm that God knows who you are and calls you his own. Or you might be asking, can I make a difference? Well, God gave you gifts and purpose, and you can live that out right here in our church or right here in our community. We need you to share those gifts with our children in our church. So that's part two. Part one is identify what phase you're in and lay that before God. But part two is I want you to think about some child. It could be a grandchild, a niece, a nephew, a neighbor, some child in your life, and ask yourself, what phase are they in? And how can you as a parent, how can you as an adult or a grandparent or as a teacher, how can you change that child's life? Because when you embrace a child, when you engage a child, when you affirm and mobilize them, you make a difference in their future. And we are looking for people. I'm just going to put it out there. We are looking for people who will do that every Sunday morning with our children or every Sunday evening with our youth. You don't have to be a rock star. You just have to be someone who's going to show up with God's love and do one of those four things with kids. And if you want to be part of our team, Ashlea or Tracy would be glad to see you right after worship. I remember when we moved to Indianapolis. It was the first big move we had as a family. Nathan was about 16 months old. Margaret was about 3.5. And when we moved, we were so nervous about this move, and so we wanted everything to be perfect. When we looked at our house the first time, doing that walkthrough, we found one bedroom had hot pink carpet, the other had like teal blue carpet, and we said, okay, we got our bedrooms for our kids. And we went in, and not just the hot pink carpet, we painted all the furniture pink, we added everything we could, and when Margaret saw the room for the first time, I captured it on picture. She said, I love my princess room. That was the same girl, by the way, that Ashlea interviewed. That's Margaret, age 3.5. She loved that princess room. You can see the princess bedspread behind her in the mirror. Now, fast forward 5 years later, what color did she hate most in the world? Pink. Hated it. So I spent the summer with her stripping all that wallpaper, and we repainted all of her walls teal blue, and we repainted all the furniture, took all the pink highlights out of it, and we spent the summer doing that. And then we moved to Zionsville, and I won't even show you a picture of her room. It was much more like the one in the videos that there's a caution barrier, caution tape around it more days than not. My point is this, though, that there was only one season of life that Margaret was pink and princesses. It was an amazing, lovely season. I had that one moment to engage her. Now she's into something else. And all of our kids, it's only a moment when we get to be with them in that phase. And so rather than saying, oh, you'll get through it, it's a phase, just bear, no. It's a phase. Don't miss it. Because every stage along a child's journey, we have the opportunity to engage and embrace, to affirm and mobilize, so that they can know that they are a child of God. It's just a phase, but let's not miss it. Amen?
Amen.